What's up? What's up? What is up? WTF Nation Radio. This is the actual King Smith, one half of the sports bar. I got my main man, Coach is in the building. Coach, let the people know something.
Oh, what do you hear? What do you say? Oh, did I just watch an exciting football game? And to that, I crack one open to everybody out there listening in today. How you doing this week, King?
Hey, I'm doing all right, but I can imagine that you're in what might be a decent mood as your Jets can't be the worst team in the NFL because there are some horribler, is that a word? Teams out there.
It is one now.
But man, let me tell you, I am glad to be here, WTF Nation Radio. We are streaming across multiple platforms. Might as well get the marketing out the way. We're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, X, Kick, my own personal, the sports bar page. We're streaming everywhere. All right. But here at the sports bar, we do sports news, sports entertainment, so to speak, from two U.S. veterans, myself and Coach. I was an Air Force veteran, Coach was an Army veteran. And we aren't the only ones that do shows here at WTF Nation Radio. So before we get into our topics for the day and our show, Coach, why don't you let the people know what else WTF Nation Radio offers besides our two lovely voices?
Absolutely. So we come to you live 6 nights a week on WTF Nation Radio and U.S. Army WTF Moments across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Kick. We kick it off every week with us, the Sports Bar, coming to you live at 8 p.m. Eastern. We go over on Monday, again, all times at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Alaskan, and 2 p.m. Hawaiian for another week until you guys finally get back onto the daylight savings time. That being said, on Monday, we have the Monday edition with Ice and Massey, bringing it to you live about what's happening. Definitely going to be talking about what's happening in the Middle East and how everything is going with the AUSA conference coming up on Monday. On Tuesday, Pop Culture Warrior with our boy CQ and his rotating clan of guest hosts between Mad Mike, Angry Elf, Massey, a whole bunch of other people that I keep on forgetting their names, but don't worry about it. I'll get it at one point. Remember, I'm not getting paid. This is all a volunteer job. But Pop Culture Warrior brings it to you on every Tuesday, talking to you about the latest and greatest in pop culture. I hope he brings up about season 2 of Loki because it's nice to see Short Round on there. And then on Wednesday, well, this is our favorite night of the week because our boy Radar, who was on last week and didn't know diddly shit about sports, but I'm not going to say anything bad about that. That's still our boy. But he and TZ bringing it to you live on the Smoke Pit, where we go ahead bullshit about what is happening around there, just bringing our opinions and wanting to hear your opinions about whatever the hell you want. On Thursdays, Ice and Spanky. Yes, Spanky is back, and they're bringing it to you live on Sergeant's Time, where we discuss the latest and greatest of what's happening within the military. And we provide you the update on Old Moldy, everybody's favorite topic of the United States Army, the great mold caper of 2023. It's still being spearheaded by our Mold Center of Excellence, Command Sergeant Major Ice, and his aide de camp, Spanky, and they're going to bring it to you live on Thursdays. Now, this Friday, guess what? I get paid. And unfortunately, last Friday, they had a little bit of an issue, so we're going to miss out on Kaz and Pookie this week on Friday Night Freedom, where they wrap it up and tell you all the news stories and catch your interest and take your comments and phone calls as well. Not this week, but hopefully, maybe, I don't know, just depends on Kaz's schedule, but definitely next week they will be live to you. Once again, that is 8 p.m. Eastern every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and every other Friday on U.S. Army WTF Moments and WTF Nation Radio across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Kick. Speaking of kicks, the daggone kicker of the New York Jets deserves to be in the Pro Bowl because Zach Wilson cannot score from the end zone. I swear to God. You know what I mean? Look, there are fugly men around there that score more often than Zach Wilson, and there's more. How would I put this? There's more baby daddies that owe child support that get bailed out more or less than Zach Wilson does. That being said, it's still a good team. Zach Wilson, get the fuck off my team.
Hey, you might want to hold those thoughts because the last four quarterbacks to beat Jalen Hurts are as follows: Tom Brady, Tyler Heineke, Patrick Mahomes, and that fresh baby face right there, Zach Wilson.
I'm glad that the ratio is now back to 50%. So anywhere you can have it, you can have a flip the coin for the last four. You can have either Hall of Fame quarterbacks or you can have who the fuck is that guy as your quarterback. And yes, he's looking like he's getting dressed up to take out somebody's mother to a nice fancy steak dinner, then sleep with them, and then record that and mess up everybody's everything in the red zone. So he might dress the part, but he sure as hell can't play the part. Again, Zach Wilson, ever since I freaking buried you 2.5 weeks ago, you have been doing better. Guess what? You still suck ass. The team is winning despite you. So keep it up. You still suck. And it's encouraging to see Aaron Rodgers a month away from rupturing his Achilles tendon and putting me into a downward spiral that nothing but alcohol, marijuana, and PCP have been able to help me get through this. Well, needless to say, he's now throwing off of crutches. Oh my goodness gracious. That ought to be something. I don't care if the Jets are 9-3 and he can be cleared to play. Zach Wilson, your ass is going to sit on a bench flatter than Taylor Swift's ass.
Hey, let's actually stay in the NFL because I was creating this show, and as the 1 o'clock games went off, there wasn't anything too crazy. But then the 4 o'clock games happened, and there were a whole narrative of things that occurred. So let's take this off the screen here. But before we do get into NFL news, let's take a look at who's in the building today. We got Richard Branco over on YouTube. He said, "What's up?" Hey, Richard, man, I'm glad that you are tuned in, my man, especially over there on YouTube, as we don't get a whole lot of love over there. So be sure that you hit the like button. Make
No,
this show my
YouTube's
show
usually
on YouTube.
YouTube's usually the channel that you have when your Facebook ban is going on.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Shout out to Coochie Castillo. I feel weird saying
Oh,
that.
coochie, coochie, coochie,
Coochie
coochie,
with the
coochie,
heart
coochie, coochie.
emoji. Hey, I appreciate
Oh,
you.
great. We got Charo here. Coochie, coochie, coochie.
We got Pete who said Jets, Jets, Jets. Shout out to Pete. He's with Pop Culture
He
Warrior.
spent jest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, you prick.
Uh we also have let's see. Michelle Early said good evening over on Facebook. Hey, boo thing. Appreciate you popping in. David Cunningham said,
Hey, Michelle.
congratulations, coach, on the Jets winning against the Eagles today. The 1972 Miami Dolphins champs that are alive have lit their
Yep.
cigars.
Yep. Still the last undefeated team because both undefeated teams went down
Went
today.
down today. Man, insane. And then David Cunningham asked a question about baseball. We are going to get into that a little bit later on. So let me star that question. I have pinned it and we will come back to it. Hey, look, I appreciate everybody that pops in as soon as we start out. You know, it takes about 10 or so odd minutes until we come in, we get everybody in, everybody's getting ready to watch the Sunday night football if that's your jam, or get ready for work tomorrow morning. So for those of y'all that do watch us live, I want to give a salute from me to you. All right, coach.
Yeah.
Let's just stay on the NFL right now. We
Let's
had,
do it.
by definition, several upsets that occurred today. Which one do you want to start with?
Actually, I am not going to start with the obvious, the one that everybody would be anticipating me doing it because I think I've already spoken enough on this. I do want to talk about the San Francisco 49ers and the Cleveland Browns.
Mhm.
The Cleveland Browns taking down the 49ers in a rain-soaked Cleveland with their backup quarterback. Rub and Tug was out of the game for today. And a guy who I had never heard of beats the undefeated 49ers in handing Brock Purdy his first regular season loss today. What in the hell happened there? But I did watch that game as well because the other game that was on was the daggone Miami and Carolina game. And at this point right now, even though it pains me to see it, I still I'm watching the Miami games just so I can see them run up the score and the greatest show on turf 2, Electric Boogaloo coming out there for everybody. But yeah, that's the one I want to start off with. Man, the freaking Browns are now. What kind of timeline are we living in? The Jets and the Browns are both 500 and both beat undefeated teams. But I mean, for crying out loud, the freaking Browns today with I'm getting his name right now. I'm about to pull up the box score with PJ
PJ
Walker.
Walker.
Even though he threw 2 interceptions, and Kareem Hunt had the only touchdown out there, they still beat the team that everybody in the NFC thought was going to be the class of the league. The 2 class of the league teams just went down. But I mean, it was a daggone great game on Cleveland controlled the ball. The running game was good. PJ Walker did throw some interceptions, but at the same time too, San Fran wasn't playing as great as they were. McCaffrey was only held to 43 yards, and he had only 9 yards receiving. Completely screwed up my entire daggone. Debo Samuel only got targeted 1 time. George Kittle only 2 times. Completely screwed up my entire daggone fantasy team today. So at this point in time, I'm just unbelievably surprised that Cleveland pulled off the upset.
But coach,
As I'm watching again, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, my weekly legs looking at Carrie Underwood right there again on Sunday Night Football.
well, coach,
Sorry, little
coach, here's what people aren't talking about with the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns played the Bengals in week 1, which the Bengals didn't look well week 1, and they beat them 24-3.
Yeah.
Then they came back and they lost to the lowly, happily Steelers 22-26. They beat the Titans
Mm-hmm.
27-3. They lost to the Ravens with no offense 28-3. And then they came back and they beat this 49ers, which people are going to say, oh, well, C-Mac got injured early. Debo Samuels got injured early. That was the offense. But no. I don't care that the Ravens, that the Browns played the Ravens, Titans, Steelers, and Bengals until the Browns lost to the Ravens and they let the Ravens score 28 points.
28-3 on them. Yeah, that was last week.
Statistically, the Browns have the best defense in the league.
I know. It's a scary damn thought. Because you would never think that Cleveland would have them, but yeah, they do have the best scoring defense in the league, and the largest upset since 2010. They were a 9.5-point dog and pulled out the win on that. So whoever took the Browns plus, yeah, you're definitely rolling in the dough right there. If anybody had the balls enough to take the Browns outright, well, you need to come on this show and start giving out tips. We'll host you an entire weekly segment so that this way you can give us your picks of who's actually going to win.
I also think, too, that when Vegas were setting these lines, that they were looking at the fact that they were going to be coming in with PJ Walker, formerly of the Carolina Panthers, who wasn't even active last week. He was on the practice squad last week, but the Browns chose to sign him and elevate him over their rookie because PJ Walker's at least got some kind of experience. And I believe that they went to go factor and say that, hey, the Browns just aren't going to have enough offense. San Francisco is going to come in and just roll over this team, especially after they gave the Cowboys that drubbing last week, which before I continue, I know I owe
Mhm.
some push-ups. So let's get these out the way right now. All right. Here's me getting my push-ups in. All right, everybody, what up? This is the actual King Smith. I owe 20 push-ups for losing a bet to Coach and David Cunningham saying that last Monday or Sunday night that the 49ers were going to beat, I'm sorry, the 49ers were going to lose to the Cowboys. So I bet 20 push-ups. Here's the push-ups. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I hate y'all. Now, before anybody,
man, hey, those push-ups get easier when you got to go ahead and you got your gut bouncing off the floor and pushing you help back up.
before I was trying to beat you to that. Before anybody say anything, I got T-Rex arms, David. So it don't take far for me to go to get parallel. And then two, when the chest and stomach is in the way, you can only go down so far, my guy. But these T-Rex arms don't need too far to go back down. I always get flack for that, but I'm like, I don't have long ass arms.
Yeah.
But hey, a bet's a bet. I got my push-ups out the way, and that was fun. It was fun. I was definitely happy to do that. But yeah, so Cleveland Browns upset the 49ers. You also had, let's go back in here, the Saints Texans was technically an upset according to Vegas.
Yeah.
The Saints were favored to win, but that wasn't a surprise to anybody. The other one that just ended, the Eagles and no, I'm sorry. We kind of alluded to the Eagles and the Jets already.
We got
There
that
was
one, yeah.
there was one more in here that technically was an upset as well. Oh, the Vikings, no, the Commanders Falcons. That's what it
Commanders.
was. That's what it was.
Yes, Commanders. Yeah.
You never know what freaking Falcons team is going to show up. That's why I stopped being a fan for the Falcons. I was a Falcons fan my whole life because I grew up in Alabama. But after they lost to the Super Bowl the way that they did to the Patriots, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So when I was trying to evaluate the Commanders Falcons game, I'm like, depending on what Falcons team you get, if it's the Falcons team that can show up and actually do something offensively, they should win this game easily. They're at home. The Commanders haven't really looked that good. And for the first half, it was a fairly close game. And then the Falcons went into the locker room, said, hey, y'all, we gonna dirty bird screw this up. And they came back out in the second half and did nothing offensively. The Commanders didn't
Yep.
either, but they were already up. So I can't with this Falcons team. Their offense, Ritter had a 300-yard
Mhm.
passing game. Also threw 3
But he
interceptions.
had 3
They
A&Ts.
did
Yep.
nothing on the ground. Drake London finally looked like something, and Kyle Pitts, who's supposedly this freakishly athletic tight end, scored his first touchdown. They also threw a touchdown pass to Jonnu Smith in that game. So you've
Yep.
got Ritter, who wide receivers aren't getting touchdowns. You got 2 tight ends who scored their only touchdowns this game. I don't know what this Falcons team is gonna do, but there's no way that they had a shot at the NFC South because the Saints trash, the Panthers
Mhm.
trash, the Buccaneers trash. Although they
Uh,
played a good Detroit team today. But did you see what Baker
yeah.
Mayfield? I mean, Baker Mayfield couldn't get anything done out
He It was a bad game by Baker today, and Tampa's still though, and we'll just kind of go off of this one. just looking at the standings right now, the Falcons are at 3-3. New Orleans is at 3-3. Tampa's at 3-2. Obviously, Carolina is the freaking bottom dweller at 0-6. But I'm looking around the NFL right now, and there are just a couple, like I want to say maybe about 4 or 5 teams that are really pushing themselves out in their division. And then you're looking right now at a whole bunch of teams that are either 3-2, 3-3, 2-4, 4-2 that are right there by them. I mean, you've got the Eagles, the Dolphins, the 49ers, the Chiefs. They're all sitting pretty at 5-1. But then you've got a slew of teams just bordering right around that 500 mark right now. And, the game or two away, you're going to have some nice little parity amongst everybody for the wild card teams. But man, it's kind of driving me nuts right now with how some of these teams are kind of going, where you don't know what you're going to get this week. If somebody would have told me that the Jets with Aaron Rodgers at the beginning of the season would start off at 3-3, I would have taken that and I would have said, okay, not a problem. I understand that. I know that, I would have taken it on there. If they were 4-2, I would have been happy. Realistically, that's what I thought they would end up being with Aaron Rodgers. But if you're telling me that the Jets are tied with the Commanders, are tied with the Falcons, tied with New Orleans, tied with the Rams, and that's just the NFC teams that are there. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, I mean, Buffalo's going to end up winning tonight. Let's just be honest here. Um, and tied with the Bengals, tied with the Colts, tied with the Texans, tied with the Vegas Raiders. All of them are 3-3. Every single team right now after the first month of the season, unless you are a Carolina Panthers fan or a daggone Chicago Bears fan or a Denver Broncos fan, you're and sorry CQ, or a New York Giants fan, you're basically, your seasons are over right now. But the other 28 teams that I just mentioned, you've got a glimmer of hope right now going to midway through October, which if everybody would have said that for their teams, every single person would have ended up taking.
All right. Now, let's answer this question here in the chat. David Cunningham said, what do you think about the Cowboys versus the Chargers on Monday night? Go ahead and pick the Cowboys if you're ready to do more push ups.
Hey, look, Justin Herbert's got a great arm. He's got a good team around him, but I don't think Dak is going to mess up again back to back weeks. That hasn't been his MO. Now, he'll play outstanding and then have a dud right at the big games. Yeah, obviously last week he did. Obviously, in the playoffs, just like every other Cowboys quarterback, they put up a dud out there in the big games. But there's never been back to back crap games done by the Dallas in a long time.
I don't know.
I'm gonna keep Dallas. I'm gonna pick Dallas on this one.
I'm gonna
I'm gonna go against the grain. I'm gonna pick Dallas on this one for Monday night.
I'm going to pick Dallas as well. I'm looking at the Vegas line right now. The total over under is 51. They're playing in SoFi Stadium, which is a nice stadium, by the way. So weather's not going to be a
Oh yeah.
factor.
And the crowd's not going to be a factor too. There will probably be more Cowboys fans than there are
Oh,
Chargers fans.
absolutely. And you have Dallas favorite to win by a point and a half. David, I don't see reasons to pick against the Cowboys in this game. I just I don't see them blowing two primetime games like that. And
Uh,
I think it's going to be a further spread than the Vegas line is suggesting. So I'm saying Dallas by 10.
have you find it somewhat funny that the two best stadiums in the NFL, Allegiant Field and SoFi Stadium, have zero home field advantage
Mm,
between the Rams, the Chargers, and the Raiders? There are equal, if not more, fans for the other teams at those games. because they're now destinations in order to go to. Everybody wants to go over there to LA to go see that damn stadium because it's one of a kind, $1 billion, phenomenal. Everybody goes to Vegas when their team's playing over there because hey, it's Vegas. I mean, for crying out loud, look at the in the stands for all of them. Everybody was wondering why Los Angeles never had a team. Well, it's because their fans are so daggone bad that they let the other teams end up having more people going to their games than the other
Mhm.
ones. And the same thing's happening with Vegas. Vegas is a transient town. Can it support an NFL team? Yeah, but it's going to be more of a destination for away teams to get to an actual to get to a place where they're at. So I mean, it's funny that they built these massive cathedrals over there on the West Coast with, two markets that, even though they're big, it's more of the away teams out there. And, there's going to be more Dallas fans coming Monday night over there at SoFi Stadium than there are the powder blue San Diego or former San Diego Supercharger fans, you know?
Shout out to Captain Wayne Baconator who said, "Go Chiefs for life." Now, Coach,
Oh, hell
I've
no.
got one more thing to cover and bring up before we move to our fantasy football updates and move away from
Hell's yes.
primarily NFL stuff. And that's this. Did you know? Did you know? I couldn't wait to tell you this one
Hmm.
that this was the first time in franchise history that the Jets have beaten the Eagles.
Yes, I did know that. They had lost 12. That was the only team that they have never beaten whatsoever. And Tyrod Taylor's in the game for the Giants. Oh,
Yes, Danny.
that's
Yep, yep.
new.
So,
I,
so to set that up tonight, we've got the Buffalo Bills against the New York Giants at a primetime game. Danny Dimes was going to be out. Tyrod Taylor got the nod at start. Saquon is also going to be playing as well, even though
yep.
he was listed as being injured, and it wasn't sure if he was actually going to be playing or not. In this game, also, Vegas had this one. Oh my goodness. The line on this was 15 points over under a 43 and a half. If this has been a weird week for sports to include some of the college stuff that we're also going to be talking about, as well as what happened in the NFL this week. If the Giants can beat Buffalo at home after having a 15-point spread, this week is the
Dear
craziest week
God.
of football I've ever seen in my life.
Yep. Yep. Nah, 15-point spread. I mean, Tyrod Taylor could, get the rabbit out of his hat and, all of a sudden show up like, oh God, like a mid-season replacement. I don't remember the last time we had a mid-season replacement, coming all the way back. I think actually Geno Smith last year, I think I would kind of consider him, kind of a reclamation project in the way Tyrod Taylor could be. But this might be the start of something, or this might be a start of a very freaking long night for the Giants fans.
All right. Hey, so to go back to the Jets real quick, do you have anything else to say on that? Because I know we talked about it a little bit at the beginning. We just brought it back up. This was the Jets' first franchise win against the Eagles. What do you have to say? As I see you've changed your avatar up there. What do you have to
Yes,
say?
I did, because I still do not believe one bit in Zach Wilson. Okay. Do not believe one freaking thing. But the defense, this game, and his playmakers, Brees Hall and Dagon, and Garrett Wilson, they have been helping him out. They have been bailing him out. And Zach Wilson has been serviceable. He hasn't tossed the ball to the other team and thrown more completions to the other team like he did against New England. He hasn't done anything in these past two games, even though one of them was against the Denver Broncos. And I mean, for crying out loud, the Broncos are terrible. Even though all that stuff has happened, Zach Wilson still deserves a chance to try out for the XFL next year. And that's where he should be. So, Zach Wilson, after my rant and after everything I say, You still suck. Get the fuck off my team. Get the fuck off my team, please. Please. Freaking, I don't know how many times you were in the red zone, but the only time that you got into the red zone and scored a touchdown since week one, actually, I don't even think week one you even scored a touchdown in the red zone. But the only time that you got a touchdown out there came after a Jalen Hurts dummy throw interception returned to the 8-yard line, and you handed it off to Breece Hall. Now, granted, the 2-point conversion converted. Great. I'm so glad that the 2-point conversion, you converted a 2-point conversion. That don't fucking matter. Nobody ever keeps stats of how many 2-point conversion touchdowns or conversion throws you make. No, it's about touchdowns. You have failed to generate it. Greg Zuerlein has scored more than you have. Greg Zuerlein has scored more than a scalper with a bunch of people that you take home to try to have sex with, those MILFs, than those trying to sell tickets to freaking what the hell's her name? Flat ass Taylor Swift concert, okay? He gets more scores than you do. I'm tired of this crap. The red zone offense is terrible. He's getting bailed out by his great playmakers. Maybe if there is a competent quarterback, I may actually be on my high that I was in the offseason when Aaron Rodgers was there. But Kirk Cousins also isn't waiving his no trade clause, and I don't blame him. I mean, Minnesota's 2-4. They still have a chance. But that being said, Zach Wilson, don't fuck this up. And remember, stay the fuck off of my team. Leave my fucking team.
Oh man, the Jets, led by Zach Wilson. All right.
Yeah.
We have one, possibly two more things to show. I thought that this was funny. So let's show these videos real quick, and then we're gonna go to fantasy football news. The Titans played the Baltimore Ravens today in London. It was the last of 3 games that were going to be played across the way here. And this interaction right here that happened at the end of the first half should tell you all about how the Titan season is going. Let's take a look. Yeah. So let's run that back. Who you're looking at is Kyle Phillips, who muffed a punt that caused Baltimore to go up like 18-3 just before the halftime. He didn't have to catch the punt. All he had to do was drop the football and let it roll, and they could have ran the timeout. Instead, he muffed the punt and gets over to the sideline, and DeAndre Hopkins looks at him like, yeah, you ain't sitting next to me, man. But it's just and then got up. Man, I cracked up laughing when I saw this. Let's watch it again.
Oh, damn, Pete.
What hoodie is he talking about? Why are you
I don't
wearing a
know.
hoodie too small for yourself?
That ain't a hoodie you
I'm
wearing,
not
though, but
wearing a
I can
hoodie.
kind of.
This is a Marvel t-shirt. Am I missing something? Hold up. Hey, Pete, what are you smoking on, and can I have some?
I don't know, but with that lack of neck you got right there, it does kind of look like when it's folded up, it does look a little like puffed out like a hoodie. So I mean, maybe Pete's seeing things. Maybe he's got to lay off the edibles a little.
Hey, coach, who's gonna have a better record this year, the Jets or the Giants?
Oh, that's an easy one. The Jets. Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes is going to be counting all of his dimes on the sideline after Tyrod Taylor takes his spot tonight.
That's what's up. And then I have one more, which this just goes to show how freak of an athlete Tariq Hill is. If y'all didn't see this, Tariq Hill scored a touchdown, ran to the end zone, grabbed a camera from somebody that was filming, and did this. Just take a look.
He's 12 of 16. Lamb the block. Oh, he's got him! He's got Hill! And they've got a touchdown! smoked him. Woo!
I played it back in case you didn't see it. He scored. I had to stop that because I didn't want CBS to be like, in the stream now. But Tariq
Yeah.
Hill scored, went, grabbed a cell phone from somebody who was filming, did a backflip in a helmet and shoulder pads, and then ran back over. After the game, he talked about it. He said, "Yep, I'm pretty sure that the NFL is going to fine me for it." I don't know why. Maybe it's because he used a prop. I think that there's some rule about you can't use props when doing the touchdown celebration.
Yeah, that came from Terrell Owens and Joe Horn. Terrell Owens, he got the football, grabbed a Sharpie out of his sock, signed it, and gave it to somebody in the stand. I think it was like his agent or
Mhm.
somebody. And then Joe Horn, like the next week for the fumble, and the Giants recovered. What the hell? And the white guy got it. Holy crap. Um, but no, the New Orleans, I think it was like around 2004, 2005. He celebrated a touchdown. He had a flip phone underneath the padding on the at the goal
Mhm.
line. He went underneath the pad, grabbed the phone, and like flipped it like he was going to make a daggone like he was making a phone call after he scored the touchdown. Now, when he did that, that's when the NFL put in about the rule about not using any props or anything that was on the field. Now, I'm going to say this about the cell phone use that this guy just did. The guy whose phone he took is one of the social media interns for the Miami Dolphins. So he's got a press credential, and he's allowed to be on the sideline to shoot videos and upload it to the social media channels for the Miami Dolphins. This had to have been prearranged somehow, because there ain't no way that somebody scoring a touchdown just at the time, and there's a video of it too, of him shooting the video of the touchdown, and then him grabbing it. He was grabbing the phone and doing the flip, as you can see that. Now, it didn't come out as a good visual because all you can see is just Tyreek Hill's big ass dome in his helmet, but that was pre-planned.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's what the NFL is getting down on, is doing stuff like that.
Hey, that kid is a freak athlete, and it's funny to me say kid because I'm not
Yeah,
that much older than Tariq Hill, but the way that guy's a freak of nature. And if he
yeah.
was a little bit taller, it'd be, whoa, what did I just see? Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Now, you know what? I heard a lot of people arguing that Kansas City wasn't going to be as good as they were when when they traded out Tyreek, and then obviously they won the Super Bowl. But in this sense, it kind of made me think about what's happening with Tyreek Hill, going back 25 years from now. You remember when Marshall Faulk was on the Indianapolis Colts
I do because he
before?
was one of my favorite
Yes.
running backs.
Exactly. And then he was great, and then they traded him to the Rams, and then the Rams went on a Super Bowl run. Indianapolis traded or ended up getting Edgerrin James, but then years later they ended up having that they went to the Super Bowl. I think Edgerrin, by that time, I think he was either on the IR or whatever for that season. But regardless of whatever happened with that one, that trade benefited both teams. All right. Now, the immediate success of Marshall Faulk on the greatest show on turf with the St. Louis Rams paid off before much, in that same way. But I think this is going to be that kind of trade where both teams are going to end up getting better. You know, Kansas City still won the Super Bowl. You ended up having an emergent player in Pacheco coming in, and Kelsey became more of a focal point, but still Kansas City won the Super Bowl. Now, at that same time, too, Miami is now at a point where they've become elite thanks to Tyreek Hill, as well as the other fast, unbelievably fast players that they've got on that team. They've just got so much team speed that Tyreek Hill fit perfectly, and they wrapped it around there, and it's made both teams better. So, one of the rare instances where you actually see, teams getting better just by trading a player to another one who's a superstar.
Yep. Now, let's get into our WTF Nation Radio Listeners League fantasy updates. Assistant, play the video. All right. We have Annika versus my man Tim Hinkle. Annika, who's still on auto, don't know who this person is. Right now is actually going to win because neither one of them have any players left. I like that they added the auto feature because it allows people to actually the computer essentially and AI to manage your teams without you being around if you're traveling or you're just bumbleheaded and forget. And that's gonna make both teams end up being 3-3. Now, looking over at Mike Larson, Mad Mike, who is at New York Comic Con along with Pop Culture Warrior CQ, this is the surprise at being 4-2, and Flash's revenge just cannot seem to get right. Having Mostert, if you have Mostert and Travis Etienne, who the Jacksonville Jaguars use
Great
him
game
right.
from them.
Right? They use him right. He's getting out there, he's getting touches, he's finding his way into the end zone. And Mostert is just the year he's having, as well as that whole Dolphins offense, is fantastic. If you play DFS, I don't know why I didn't go higher on Mostert, considering the fact that Achan, the rookie, wasn't going to be there to steal touches. I should have put Mostert in all of my daily fantasy lineups and just said build around him. I slipped on that one. Derrick Henry finally got into the end zone and not threw a touchdown. That's interesting. All right.
That's good.
We have Coach. I have to ask you.
I'm about at the point right now where I might just auto my teams for the rest of the year, because when I looked at it today, I completely forgot, obviously, that Aaron Jones was
On a bye?
was on a bye. Yeah. And then obviously you could see the big hits I took on Debo and Kittle today. I mean, I never thought that was going to be that bad. So I might be I'm dead serious at this. This past week has been, just an absolute pain in my ass, and I completely blanked on setting up anything whatsoever. So I mean, the best thing I can get is that, freaking it turns out to being like a 3-0 game, and the Bills end up, shutting out the Giants. That might be the only saving grace that I have, but I severely doubt I'm going to be doing anything against Show Me Your TDs today. So I'll be down in the basement, and then I have a feeling next week I might just auto, because I'm going to be actually taking a vacation starting Sunday of next week.
Are we going to be live next week? Or
we're going to be live. I'll still have my computer, but I'm going to be broadcasting from an undisclosed basement.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Taking a look at Ambassador Wilson. Hey, this sucks when you have somebody that literally hit the nuts in almost every position. He's going to end up having the leading kicker because the Ravens couldn't get in the end zone, but could kick field goals like nobody's business over in London. Cooper Kupp went off. Kyron Williams of the Rams. I mean, this guy, they're feeding him the ball. He's their bell cow back. If you are lucky enough to have good running backs in this PPR league, then you've already gotten the nod over most people. And then having Tua as your quarterback, you stream him each week no matter what. The surprise here was going with Josh Downs over Chuba Hubbard. I mean, this is only a 3-point difference, but when Chuba was going to have the backfield himself, even if you thought that the Dolphins were going to blow out, Chuba still gets passes out of the backfield. So in PPR, that could have been pretty valuable as well. So, but it's not going to matter. He's putting up a projected 161 over Wilson's 109 projected, and that's going to have both of these teams end up being 3-3. And when you get to the next two, whoever Glenn is, Glenn, man, Okay, I thought he screwed up. Actually, yeah, CQ might end up pulling out the win because this guy hasn't updated his flex. Maybe can he do it by tomorrow? No, because
No, I
all of
can't.
his positions are used. Glenn, if you're
Yep.
watching or listening, you had the win, man. You could have beaten CQ, which is my favorite thing to do. I love seeing CQ lose. You had an opportunity to do it, but you messed up.
Hey, I beat him. I beat him. I might be 2-4 by the end of the day today, but I did beat CQ, so I'm kind of happy about that.
And then Kyle watches the show as well. Kyle, if you're listening right now, this is going to be a sweat. And the fact that I'm going to have to wait until, well, actually, me and him are both going to have to wait until tomorrow because he has the Cowboys defense left to play tomorrow. He's got Stephon Diggs that's set to play now, and I've got two people playing tomorrow night. That might be a sweat. I might catch my first L in the listeners league.
Oh, hell.
But if I don't, I'm gonna be sitting pretty at 6-0, baby.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. My season went to shit as soon as Aaron Rodgers went down, but nothing I can do
Yep.
about it.
So that
Yeah.
is
I
our
can't even find the freaking auto thing anymore. So I don't remember how to put the auto thing on. I think I got to wait till next week anyway.
So that is our
Fuck.
WTF Nation Radio Listeners League fantasy football updates. Now, we usually do sports trivia by now, but this week just has some interesting and weird stuff. So we went a little bit off script, but that's all right
No
because
worries.
I'm going to give our sports trivia question, which is not going to be an easy one. You have to be a baseball fan to probably even know what this stadium was called back in the day because it is no longer a stadium now. But I'm going to read the question. I'm going to put it up on the screen. I'm going to read the question again, and then I'm going to put up a 30-second counter. Okay. So if you can answer this question correctly, great. I have nothing to give, but you will know that you have some good sports trivia knowledge here. All right. So
All right.
the question is as follows: the first MLB game played at night happened under the new lights of what Cincinnati stadium, March 21st, 1935? Again, the very first MLB game played at night happened under the new lights of what Cincinnati stadium, May 24th, 1935? 30-second counter, go. All right. Coach put his answer in our back chat. I'm going to check the chat to see if anybody else thought to answer this, but no.
No.
All right. Well, coach, ding ding ding, you are correct.
I knew that one actually.
How did you know it? Now, I don't know baseball, so I wouldn't have gotten it.
All
But
right. So all right. This was part of me growing up. There was a Ken Burns documentary called Baseball, and I got that Christmas of 1994 on VHS. I watched that. I knew about all the stadiums and like all of those things, especially during those times going way back in the day to find out the history of baseball. And I know that Three Rivers Stadium was not built until 1970. But when Rivers Stadium was built, it replaced the home of the Cincinnati Reds for nearly 50 years, which is Crosley Field. Now, during that time, the Reds never won a World Series, but then once they moved into Three River, that's when the Big Red Machine started coming around, and that's when they won their championship, several of their championships. But yes, that's how long ago I remember that one. It would be in Crosley Field, where the home of the Cincinnati Reds were, and where the first game that was ever played under lights was done in 1935, because that was actually in the video.
Okay, bonus footage. I don't know if this is in the video, but when I was looking up a question for the sports trivia, they had this information as well. Do you know when or what year? And if you go plus or minus 2 years, I think that'd be fantastic. The stadium was
Okay.
demolished.
Oh, Crosley Field demolished. I'm gonna say 1978.
Oh, that was really close. That was really close. So the Cincinnati Reds played at that field from 1912 to 1970. So the last game that was there was 1970. It was demolished in 72.
Yeah, 72. Okay, all right. I see. I thought I would have figured they would have stayed up for a little while. I wasn't sure what the hell the Bengals were playing by that time, but I'm pretty sure that they were playing in both stadiums, and it might have been like RFK over in Washington, where nobody was there for since the Redskins moved to FedEx Field, and then a couple other tenants came in, and now it's just becoming a rust bucket over there in DC. I figured that would have happened with that one, but I did not know that it was demolished in 72.
Yep,
All right.
yep. We have a score update. First on the board, the New York Giants at the with 3 minutes left in the first quarter is up 3-0. I'm mad about that because I did a showdown on
Mhm.
DraftKings, which is a single game slate where you pick 6 players from one single game, and you put one person as captain who can get 1.5 times points, but also cost 1.5 times the salary. And I had the Giants kicker in there as the only Giants player with
Yeah.
with Stephon Diggs, um, Damian Harris, the running back, because I just didn't have the salary for Cook. Um, the quarterback and one other really cheap Bills player, and I think that lineup probably could have won me some big money today, but not having.
Yeah.
But I ended up changing it out and picking Paris Campbell in case he actually did something for the Giants today, and it doesn't look like it's going to do me anything.
And I dropped Graham Gano. I dropped him after week 2 because I needed another kicker, and I figured I'd go ahead and I'd put him in. But yeah, I actually got the kicker for Indy on the team. But fuck.
Yep, yep.
Nah, I'm not worried about it. You know what? It's the Giants. I think the score is going to end up being like 6-3 tonight. Let's be
Hey
honest.
man, it very well could be. And David Crowley, sorry, not David Crowley, David Cunningham added a little bit of extra flair to that answer. Hey, thanks, David, over on Facebook. I appreciate you. Oh, David, actually, speaking of which, zoom in on me. Did you want to take that bet? Were you saying that you were going to take the Chargers over the Cowboys? Because we can run that 20 push-up bet back. Okay. So put it in the comments. If you're saying that you're going to take the Los Angeles Chargers, me and Coach said that we're taking the Cowboys. I will gentlemanly handshake that bet if that's what you were saying earlier. Let me.
Hey, and David, the way that my profile's set up, I can't be doing any push-ups, so you can just get them from King.
Hey, hey. Actually, no, you ain't getting out of this. You can do them for me, and then I can vouch that they were done. And
No, no, no. I'll do them on video.
what?
I'll do them on
How are you
video
gonna manage that though?
very easily.
With a Jets bag over your head?
Oh yes.
All right. Okay. While we wait to see if David's going to accept that bet, let's move to the next piece of information. I thought this was interesting. I'm going to file this under our sports quick hits, but we're going to do this one
Mm-hmm.
a little bit differently. We talked about how the WNBA was in their finals, but What do you know about the WBB?
The WBB?
Yep.
I've got no idea what the hell the WBB is.
Okay. So, uh in an exhibition charity game,
Okay.
there were two teams that faced off in which the Iowa college basketball team played against another team,
All right.
and they had 55,000 people show up in attendance to that game. Set a record crowd.
Was this women's
Nope,
volleyball?
women's basketball, college basketball,
Women's women's
women's
college
college
basketball.
basketball.
Oh, dang on.
So that was an exhibition game, coach. An exhibition game. The WNBA championship between the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces was also set today. It would have been a sweep had Las Vegas won, but the New York Liberty actually pulled out a win to keep the sweep and force a game 4 because they don't do a best of 7, it's a best of 3 in the WNBA. Do you know how many people showed up to that game in what could have been a sweep elimination game? Just take a guess. Take a guess.
4,000.
I would have probably said about 6,000 myself. But 17,000 people showed up to a WNBA finals game compared to the 55,000 people that showed up to a freaking exhibition game. All right. What do you have to say about that?
55,000. I would have said that was the season attendance figure for all of the WNBA games for the entire thing. And I would tell you about my interest in what's happening with the WNBA. It echoes what is happening to their attendance figures. Those 17,000, I guarantee you. What was the game played in Las Vegas?
No, it was played in Kinnick Stadium, which I believe is in Iowa.
No, I'm talking about the WNBA game.
Oh, no, that game was played. I couldn't tell you.
Okay, it was probably played in Vegas, which means that 15,000 of those tickets were freebies for staying at the hotel close to the daggone place. Iowa doesn't have much happening. I mean, if something is happening with women's basketball and Iowa was there and they want to sell out and do all this other stuff for it, hey, it's Iowa. What else are you going to do? Shove corn up your ass? I mean, you're only a state away from being around Radar, and Radar literally has nothing around him. That's why he talks to us on the radio. But yeah, freaking 55,000 for a women's basketball game in Iowa. Hey, look. Okay, I could see that. Nebraska had like 70 some odd thousand for a women's volleyball game at their football stadium, which was actually more than what the football team has been doing because since they sucked.
And
But
David confirmed what I just found out. It was actually in New York. It was at Barclays. So game 3 was at Barclays. It was a historic gate receipt for a WNBA game with 17,000.
okay,
So that was a record for a WNBA game.
So 7,000 tickets were sold, and the other 10,000 were given away to free to the bums and the immigrants that are in New York right now. Okay, that's good. At least they're getting them off the streets and out of the neighborhoods. I mean, 17,000. There is not 17,000 WNBA fans in all of New York State, let alone in New York, in the 5 boroughs. Definitely not in Brooklyn whatsoever. No, for crying out loud, that there is no way they didn't paper that whole damn thing out there. Okay.
Here we go right here. This is what it looked like inside of Barclays Stadium.
All right, and I will tell you that the first 10 rows were the only people that paid for tickets. Either that or they got free tickets to their next season tickets. That's how they ended up playing into that one. It's like those free throw-in games that you get. Hey, you buy net season tickets, we'll throw in tickets to the Liberty. Uh, I had more interest, honestly. The WNBA game was on right around in between the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games. I and at 4:25, that's when CBS changed over to team bull riding competition. And I was more interested in team bull riding competition than I was in the WNBA final. Okay. I mean, I would whatever. Nobody gives a shit about the WNBA. Fuck that. There's no way that all 17,000 people paid money to go see the WNBA finals. I mean, yeah, I know, granted, all of New York sports basically sucks right now. And the last championship that was won out of any of the major sports was when the Giants beat the Patriots in 2011. And no, I don't count the MLS World Cup or whatever bullcrap that is as a major championship. Maybe they wanted to see the WNBA champion being done over in New York because, God forbid, New York teams are sure as hell ain't going to win a championship anytime soon.
Hey,
So,
game
hey,
game 4 goes back to New York at Barclays again this upcoming Wednesday night.
and you know who will not be there? Me. You know who else will not be there? The majority of New York. And I will state this too, because I am an avid listener of WFAN. Okay. Do you know how many times the WNBA is talked about on the local sports radio station? And might I also add to you, it is the founding sports radio talk station in the entire United States. Do you know how often this past week, or actually this past month, they have talked about the New York Liberty?
Have we talked about the WNBA more than WFAN have in the last 2 weeks?
Yes, we have. Okay.
Okay.
Look, nobody gives a fuck about Liberty. It's much like going in there and anybody asking about Major League Soccer. Nobody talks about that either. Nobody gives a flying fuck in New York about the damn New York Liberty.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Grooming and Review said, do I remember the bet that we had? No. Pete, let me know what it was because honestly, I forgot. So let me know. And David Cunningham added a little bit more as well. He said Pete Rose pulled the lever that sent the wrecking ball into the side of Crowsley Field. By autumn, just a faint outline of the grandstand remained. Today, 7 buildings occupy the site and a street runs through it.
Oh,
Something we learned
nice.
here at the
Hell
Sports
yeah.
Bar on WTF Nation Radio. If that ever comes up at a bar trivia, make sure y'all give David, Coach, and myself a proper shout out.
I wonder if Pete bet on where the ball was going to land, the wrecking ball.
The new WNBA expansion team will be in San Francisco. The owner of the Golden State Warriors will be the owner. So they're investing in the WNBA. There's going to be an expansion
Oh,
team. It
oh,
ain't going away, Coach.
I can make so many jokes that'll get us canceled right now. So I'll keep my mouth shut.
All right, let's see. Pete said that if my team loses in fantasy, I'll have to shave my name on the ass. If I lose a season, you have to shave my name on. I don't even know. We didn't make that bet. There is no way I would agree to that bet.
First off, let's be honest here. King has no hair on his ass whatsoever. I mean, look, you know, I'm just saying that that's based off of genetics. King has no hair on his ass whatsoever. You got to get a white guy on that one in order to get a shaved ass and shaving a name into an ass, man. You don't
Oh
see, you
man.
don't see, you don't. I'm not saying anything racist or anything like that, King, but I have yet to meet an African American man that has back hair, let
Hey,
alone ass hair.
This is true.
All right. Look, I've seen people with enough back hair that you can go ahead and shave an entire football jersey's name and phone number onto the back of them, and you can see it better than you can if they were wearing a jersey. They don't. They, the place stuff like what is that? The ball say or the ball shaver. What is that called? The ones who should be
Oh,
sponsoring us. You know who I'm talking about, right?
yeah, the manscaping ones, man. I can't think.
Yeah,
If they ever
Manscaped.
want to
Yeah,
sponsor us,
yeah.
yeah, I could,
Hey, hey,
yeah,
Manscaped is not something that you guys use, okay? And let's be honest, you guys, I mean, and if you did use it, I'm not saying anything sensitive about the skin or anything like that, but you guys use, the magic shave and shit like that because you all get the bumps and things like that. Freaking Manscaped is set up for white guys. Don't ever make a bet with somebody who shaves his head that has no other hair on his back or any other part of his body about shaving anything into his ass.
yeah. We did. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Pete, you must have made that bet in your mind, brother, because we didn't make that bet. He said, "Am I a Sasquatch?" You know what? Can I show them? I mean, look, I
That
have
looked
no
like
shame.
taco meat for crying out loud.
I have no shame. I got hair places. Yeah.
Hey, Michelle
Hey,
said you wouldn't agree to shave anything. Oh dear God.
yeah.
I don't want to get to that.
Besides, I'm a waxing type guy. Hold up.
Oh dear God. I need another beer for that one.
Yes.
Oof.
Hey, I'm liking tonight's show. We're having fun. We're having fun over here. Let's get
No.
into some more sports quick hits. We got preseason happening with the NBA, which is why I love this
Mhm.
time of the year. You got football, postseason baseball, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. NBA's live, college football's going, college basketball is about to be rolling up. I mean, this is the best time. If you go on Halloween, Halloween's rolling up in a couple of weeks. Who's your early pick to win the NBA Finals?
I really like there's four teams that I'm picking. Boston, I do like them out of the East. I also like Milwaukee now that Dame is now paired up with Giannis. I think that would be a good pairing. I do like Denver again because Joker will we'll see how he does, but I think that they'll be good. But I am really digging from what I saw this preseason, the combination of Steph and CP3 and Clay all in the backcourt for Golden State. Maybe one last hurrah for Golden State before things start going a little bit more downhill. So those are my four picks. Any of those four making the NBA Finals, I'd take the bet on any of those four teams making it, whatever combination you've
All
got.
right. So taking a look at the Vegas championship odds for right now, the teams that I like, I wouldn't have been really close in. So the top four teams as of right now are Boston, the Bucks, the Suns, and the Nuggets. Okay.
Okay.
I like Boston. I like the Bucks. I like Golden State. And as long as LeBron's still playing, who is officially now the oldest active player in the NBA, I'm not going to bet
Mm,
against LeBron James. So those are my four
yep.
teams, which that's what 14. No, that's two teams out of the East and two teams out of the West.
Yep. Yep.
No, three out of the West.
No, no, you got four out of the West. You had Golden State. You had Golden State and
Lakers.
the Lakers, and then Milwaukee and
Yeah.
Boston. They're Milwaukee and Boston are out of the
Yep.
East.
So those are my four
Yeah.
teams. If y'all have any picks as to who y'all like winning this year, just early picks, throw them out there. What do I think about Memphis? Oh man.
Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Are we going to bring this motherfucker back up again?
What do I think about Memphis? Let me see what their roster looks like first. Memphis,
Well,
Memphis,
let's
Memphis.
just be honest about what's happening with freaking Memphis for the first 20 games of the season. How quickly we forget
Oh,
about
no,
that.
no, I didn't forget. I did not
Okay.
forget, but I want to take a look at the rest of their roster to see what they're going to have to do to get past Ja's suspension. He's making 34 million.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, they got Derrick Rose, and Derrick Rose back in Memphis again, but at 35 years old and 15, almost 15 years past his prime out there. Also got
Marcus
Marcus
Smart's
Smart
on the
over there
roster.
backing him up. Yeah.
Uh, they're not gonna have a strong enough team. I don't see
Nah.
any legit scorers slash shooters that's going to be able to get them into the playoffs and then make it a deep run into the playoffs. And they're not known as a defensive team, in my opinion. If they at least play defense and were like top 5
No.
in the league in defense, they'd have a shot. But taking a look at this roster, I just don't see enough here.
Nah, the Memphis is not going to have it. If Memphis for the first 20 games comes out with a 500 record, that should be considered a success. I really think that they're going to start the season off pretty daggone bad. They're probably going to be about 6-14, 5-20 by the time Ja comes back, and then they're going to be playing catch up for the whole season. That doesn't mean that they're not going to squeak in as one of the last teams for the playoffs. Because, I mean, you can finish under 500 and still make the playoffs in the NBA. But I don't see them making any type of run towards a conference championship, being one of the higher seeds in the Eastern Conference, and I see them playing in that what are they calling it? The buy-in tournament or whatever the fuck they're
The
calling it?
play-in,
Yeah,
yeah.
play-in tournament. Yeah, I could see them making the play-in tournament and maybe winning a series out of there because at that point it's kind of a toss-up. But no, I don't see anything coming out of Memphis this year. So sorry, tough break. Hey, maybe Josh should have fucking learned that when he put his daggone gun in his fucking pants and started shooting it on Instagram.
What do
Oh,
what do we think about
dumbass.
Sacramento? Sacramento's a solid team. They were last year. Take a look at their roster. I think they're going to be a solid team this year. If you were to ask me to pick a top 8, I would have gone with Sacramento. They're in a smaller market, so people don't talk about them like that. But Sacramento's got a squad, and they're going to make the playoffs. They could make it to the semifinals. It depends on where they're seated at, how far they'll get. I mean, I think out of the West, if the Lakers stay healthy, they could get it, but all roads go through Golden State, really.
Yeah.
So
You're going to end up playing Golden State. You're going to end up playing Denver, Phoenix. Between those three teams right there, you're not going to have a lot of people that you're going to be getting past them out of there. And, I like Sacramento as well, but there's a thing, too, about the NBA about being playoff tested. It was something I brought up 15 years ago when Detroit was playing Cleveland. I think it was LeBron's first kind of deep run in the playoffs before we started calling him a choke artist. But I thought that, that it ended up being, LeBron was not going to be tested and Detroit was going to end up doing it just based off of the experience. Now you've got Sacramento, you've got Denver, and that's why I'm picking them over Phoenix because Phoenix, even though they made the finals a couple of years ago, they're still not as tested as these other teams are in the playoffs. Sacramento isn't either, And there is something to say about playoff experience with translating into success within the NBA. That's why we're seeing the Heat and the Celtics over in the East coming out of there, and not any of these other teams. And Milwaukee was kind of a freak thing because of what happened to Giannis during the playoffs. But that's why for the past several years we've seen nothing but these playoff tested teams like Golden State, now going into Denver, who went through their struggles before they won. Now you've got Phoenix, and as well as going all the way back to the COVID year, even though nobody really counts that, but with the Lakers, you had some playoff tested teams right there. LeBron has been playing more seasons. Shit, he played more games than anybody throughout the 2010s. I don't think anybody kind of realizes how many games he's actually played with how long he's been playing. So,
yep. Now, let's get into some MLB news. As David Cunningham brought up earlier, we are in the 2023 postseason. I've got a graphic up here of what it's looked like. Okay, none of the number one teams made it out of the division. And we've got the number 2 versus number 5, 3 teams out of Texas in the ALCS. One's playing tonight. Tonight, you have the Texans against the Houston, and it is top of the fourth now, 1-0. We were asked by David who between the Astros and the Rangers would win this series and go on to the championship game. I don't follow
the World
baseball
Series,
like
you
that,
mean?
so I'm gonna have to throw this one out to you, Coach.
All right. So, interesting thing about this MLB postseason is that the three of the teams that are remaining, the Rangers, the Astros, and the Phillies, all finished with a 90-72 record. Only the Astros won their league. Won their division. And out of every other team that was out there, they were all wild card teams. The three top winners of this year, between the Dodgers, the Braves, and the Orioles, all won 100 games this year, and all of them lost their first series. In fact, they were combined 1-for-9 in their series during this year. Absolutely terrible. And it's become a crapshoot in the MLB postseason. And I hate to say this because I fucking hate them, but I think the Astros are going to be back in the World Series again this year. I am not hoping, but it's more looking that it's going to be a rematch of last year's World Series, where the Astros and the Phillies met up in the World Series for it. But I'm hoping again, like I said, I hope that it's not the same, because I don't want the Astros to win. Fuck the Astros. For me, I'm going to be rooting for the Texans, and I will be rooting for Philadelphia. That Diamondbacks Phillies series, that's kind of a toss-up for me. For me, the Astros, they're definitely going to beat the Rangers, and they're going to be back in the World Series, which, as a Yankee fan, that absolutely disgusts me, because they know how to run analytics and Brian Cashman doesn't, because Brian Cashman has his head so far up his ass that his mouth is directly right next to his colon, and that's how he eats.
Okay.
Aaron Boone still sits down when he pisses. But yeah, that's what we're having for that. But it's really this MLB postseason, with the expansion now of 6 teams into the MLB postseason. Used to be just for home field advantage, used to be something good. And when you won your division, it actually meant something. Now we're looking at it right now that the regular season is turned into a crapshoot, and the Major League Baseball postseason has now kind of turned into what the Stanley Cup playoffs are, where we're getting all of these lower seeded teams that are just whipping up on people that had a long layoff. The Orioles, the Braves, and the Dodgers all had to wait over 6 days for them to play in their first series right after the season was over. Now, before that, there used to be like a 2 to 3 day type of ordeal between the games. So these teams, the number 1 seeds and the number 2 seeds in each of the leagues, never had that long of a time off. It would be common if somebody wrapped up their series early and the other team went to like 5 or 7 games, but it was never this extended of a period just at the beginning of the playoffs. With the expansion of the first games going into a 3-game series and the way that they have the days off on there, these number 1 and number 2 seeds are now out of their rhythm, and they've gone 5 to 6 days in between playing their next series out of there. And while it might rest up some players, there's a lot of rust, especially when you get down to the repetition of baseball. That's why they play it every day, to keep themselves fresh, especially in such a low movement type of sport, that a lot of these teams are now going to be pulling off these upsets that have been able to play and keep their rhythm going during the year. So it's, I don't know whether, baseball takes several steps forward, but then it takes several steps back. And it doesn't seem like the baseball fan is able to get everything right like we are within the NFL. I mean, the NFL gets the majority of stuff right. The NBA, they're working on getting more stuff right, especially with this whole thing about, not resting players or doing load management, things like that. The NHL, let's be honest, nobody cares about it. And I don't want baseball to turn into that part where it's such a long regular season and then it's becoming a crapshoot in this baseball in the postseason. But for every time that MLB does something great, like this pitch clock introduction, the way that they've expanded the bases and took off a couple other things as far as running, it ends up reverting back to some same old bullshit. And then you see something coming up. It's good for a while. Games are a little bit shorter. But then on the opposite side, you're having this bullshit with the expanded playoffs and the expanded series, all for television money, that is just screwing up the playoff system as we know it. And baseball really needs to get a better handle on itself and do the more things right the way the NFL does.
So if I'm understanding it right, this literally could be history made if the Rangers played against the Diamondbacks in the championship game.
This would be the first time that they would ever play against that. The Diamondbacks have not been in a World Series since 2001 when they went up against the Yankees. The Astros, they were in the World Series last year. They've been in the World Series several times before. They've lost the last season they won. Can't remember if it was 2019 or 2020 that they went to the World Series and lost to the Washington Nationals. I can't remember which year it is. And then they won in 2017. So they've been there, done that, and done everything. The Phillies made it to the World Series last year, and they lost to the Astros. In fact, I believe they actually had a no-hitter thrown against them, a combined no-hitter. Last time the Phillies have won the World Series was in 2008 against the Tampa Bay Rays, and then they went back the next year and lost to the Yankees. The Texas Rangers have been to the World Series in 2000. I want to say 2010 and 2011. It might be 2000. Yeah, I think it was 2010, 2011, not 2011, 2012. And in both times, one time they lost to the San Francisco Giants, and then they lost in 7 games to the St. Louis Cardinals. Albert Pujols' last year before he signed with the Los Angeles Angels. That was the year that they beat the Rangers. But like I said, I might have my years mixed up. I'm not sure if it's 10 and 11 that the Rangers have won it. But you may have the first time in, let me see, how long has it been since we've had the same group of people in the World Series or the same teams in the World Series back-to-back years? It'll be the first time since 19, no, it wasn't that. Holy shit. It'll be the first time since 1977 and 1978 that the same teams have met in the World Series back to back years. And both of those years were the Dodgers and the Yankees.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. David Cunningham said this could be a wild team World Series. And that's what I was
Yeah.
alluding to. I was like, man, this could be history if
Yeah.
both of the Rangers and the Diamondbacks play.
I think I am not, don't quote me on this. I do believe there was a wild card World Series. It's not unheard of for the wild card teams to be winning the World Series. I mean, it happened the first time in 1997, I believe, with the Florida Marlins. But I'm not sure if there's been an all wild card team World Series, but I'm about to look that up right now.
I'm not advocating this, but before we move on to the next topic, I was looking at the odds again for the World Championship. Right, there's teams here. There's 1, 2, 3 teams that Vegas have at plus 30,000. I might just take
Mm-hmm.
$50 on each of those teams, just to throw it out there. That's $150, right? And
Yeah.
if they don't do anything great, but imagine as the season goes on, we get to the playoffs. If either one of those teams is still there, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, there's a chance that I could take that 50 and times it by 300 and make a nice little chunk of change.
All right. So I take this back. So 2 times have 2 wild card teams met in the World
Oh,
Series,
okay.
and that was in 2002 and 2014. 2002 was the Anaheim Angels going against the San Francisco Giants. That was with Barry Bonds in his only World Series appearance. And 2014 with the San Francisco Giants and the Kansas City Royals. That one I remember because my brother's best man, Joe Panic, that was his only World Series championship. Even though he'd been drafted in 2012, he didn't make the major league roster until 2013, and he was on that 2014 team.
Okay.
Yeah, I even have his World Series jacket with in my closet.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's hey, I might see a picture of that. All right, let's see. Wait, it said my virtual background has ended. Oh, I got too much stuff open. So let me start.
you got a virtual background up there.
Yeah.
You virtually background you have a virtual background that looks like a normal room with a hoodie on the doorknob. Holy crap.
Yeah, hold on. I
Oh,
gotta do something real quick. Coach, just start talking. I'll
no
be right back.
problem on that. All right. Well, hey, look, ladies and gentlemen that are over here in the chats, I do want to ask you all one simple question and kind of a real basic one, just so we can kind of get a temperature of everybody's sports fandom. In the chats, please let me know what is your favorite sport to follow, whether it be in football, basketball, baseball, softball. Are you back?
Yep, I'm back.
Okay, he's back. Well, fuck it. Never mind
Never
about that. I
mind.
was trying to fill up some
Don't answer
time,
that
but
question.
we're okay
All
on
right.
that. Don't answer that question.
Let's see.
Forget the man.
Hold on.
Forget the man behind the
Pause.
curtain.
Time out. My lady's having to sign off and go to sleep because she has an early day tomorrow. So to Michelle Early, thank you for watching. Hope you hit that like button. And I'm gonna just let y'all know. Michelle was blocked on one of our bigger news station pages here. And I have no idea why. I had to talk to the station manager, like, yo, my lady's trying to find US Army WTF moments. She can't find the page, boss. What's going on? Turns out she was blocked. How is one of the biggest supporters of me, who literally on multiple devices has all of the live streams, she hits the like button on all of them, how does she get blocked? I'm gonna have to have a talk with our station manager.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling we can point the blame onto one person.
Ooh, who's that?
All right. I'm just going to blame our station's social media manager. He is the one who blocked everybody. It sure as hell wasn't Spanky. It wasn't Mom. It was our station's social media manager. We're throwing him under the bus today. He's the one who did it.
And take a look who's popped into the chat, Coach.
Hey, Spanky.
Lurking in from the lurking spot. I appreciate you popping in. Spanky said high school girls basketball is her favorite sport to watch, as well as a touch of college football. Speaking of
Hmm.
college football, we're going to cover some of that
Oh,
before we get into do we have enough time? Yeah, we will. Let's get
yeah.
into what happened in college football this past weekend. First of all, before I go into anything else, I'm looking at the AP top 25. I don't see the
Mm-hmm.
Navy. I don't see the Army, but I do see our Air Force Academy at 6-0 at number 22 in the AP poll. Yeah, buddy.
Oh, dear God.
And if you didn't believe me, hold up a second. Let's just show it right here. Boom! There they are. Off we go into the wild blue yonder.
They got a better record than Bama.
Hold up. First of all, I need you to say all of that. All right. But let's take a look. I mean, starting on, we have to go back to Friday. We have to go back to Friday because we were treated to what should have been, it should have been a win between Colorado and Stanford. Colorado was favored to win
Uh,
by a bunch of points. They were up 29-0. And then it's like they went into halftime and decided to come back out on chill mode at home of all things. And it's one of the things that I don't care if you say, "Oh, this is a new team." I don't care. This is his first year with this team. When you're up 29-0 on a game that you're supposed to beat, Coach Prime, I don't I can't give you any excuses on this. I would love
hmm.
to have heard the real talk, not what was said on the media and all of that stuff. How in the hell you allow that to happen? I'm going to come pause hardcore on this one because there aren't any excuses for that to have occurred on any level. And
Yep.
coach, I'd love to hear your thoughts when because I fell asleep. I woke up and was like, wait, what? So what are your thoughts about that
Yeah.
double overtime loss to Stanford by the Colorado
Yeah.
Buffaloes?
I fell asleep. I fell asleep too. And, Colorado was up. All right, great. Not a problem. Go to bed on that. When I woke up on Saturday morning before I went to go to work, checking all the sports scores and saw that they lost. The first thought that went into my mind was Coach Prime is losing his team. And that's something I would never have thought to have said this. But there's little hints that he's losing that team.
Hmm.
Part of it was the intensity of how they were playing. And I saw how Stanford came out in the second half and just freaking tied everything up and brought everything back and played with the intensity that Colorado didn't have. But at the same time, too, there was a report that Shador Sanders was in the middle of the game selling game worn items on Instagram to his followers.
Wow.
Now, that being said, we all know that Dion said, I'm calling him Dion now. Sorry, Coach Prime. It ain't gonna, you're Dion now at this point. I know that Dion has said that he treats different players differently. All right, great, not a problem. You treat your own son, you should be harder on your own son, but if your own son is selling game worn shit on Instagram while his team is getting, is getting a comeback during the middle of the second half of a game, Man, that's more wrong than two boys kissing behind a church on Sunday afternoon right in front of a priest with his hands in his pants. That ain't playing, man. You cannot do that shit. Coach Prime, you might love him or hate him, and some people love him because of all the flash and everything that he keeps talking about and some of the substance. But right now, it's looking like it's getting to be more flash than it is substance. And I put this one on Coach Prime. Coach Prime needs to get back to doing all this stuff. Instead of keeping all the flash going, he needs to get some more steak. That's exactly what it is, man. He needs to have some more steak than he does on that sizzle. He needs to get control of that team before he ends up losing it and burning the bridge, because at this level of college football, you screw up and you turn into Lane Kiffin. Nobody's heard or seen from that motherfucker since USC. All right. He's an assistant coach. He was an assistant coach at Bama, and now I don't know where the hell he is. But nobody's seen or heard from him.
Hey, he's at Ole
And by that,
Miss. He's at Ole Miss.
oh, he is? Okay, yeah, exactly. I had no idea he was at Ole
Yeah.
Miss. All right, but for years, everybody knew where Lane Kiffin was, and for years, everybody knows where Coach Prime is. And by that time, right now, you know, I'm not going to say that he did great over at, what was it, Jackson State?
Mhm.
He was at
Yep.
before Coach
Mhm.
Prime.
State.
Okay, he did make some moves over there at Jackson State, but he didn't make enough moves to say that he is going to be as great as he's talking himself up to be. He needs to get control of this, because this is not going to look good on him if his teams are going to be coming out flat like they did against who the hell was it that they lost against 2 weeks ago? The ones where he got blown out. USC. All right, and we can talk about them later. But it ain't going to look good on him if he ain't getting right in this ship, and he needs to right this ship now and start treating it like an actual coach instead of the Dion show.
Man, I am gonna look after we get done with this live. I can't believe I heard what you just said. If that's true, that his son was trying to hawk game one stuff during the game, that's egregious.
Like I said, this is just something. This is something I saw on the sports headline things. It might just be something that, may have popped up. And look, social media things, we know that they can schedule shit. All right. That may have just scheduled it right at the same time, too, that Shador Sanders was going to be trending because he was playing in the second half of the game. I don't fault him if it's something like that. But if he was doing that shit live on the sidelines while his team was getting scored upon, that's wrong.
Yep. And I found it out. Yep. Apparently, the timing of it was that on his Instagram story, there was a link to merch that you could go buy stuff, and it came out during halftime. And I do manage some social media stuff. I don't know if you can schedule stories. I know you can schedule posts, but I'm not sure if you can schedule stories, or he likely has somebody that also manages his stuff. But I'm just overall,
I mean, yeah, you got a good point there.
you gotta either do it, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't say before the game. Wait till after the game to do something like that. To do it during halftime, whether you're up 100-0 or not, that's just bad marketing. It's bad
Yep.
marketing. And then to have your team come out and lose on top of that, if I'm your father, if I'm your coach, if I'm anybody that's a part of that athletic staff whatsoever, that shit has to stop. I even discuss this now, and I try to keep my language PG-13 on this show.
Oh,
But that
yeah.
shit has to stop.
I agree with you, man. I agree
There
with you.
were a couple of other things as well, but before we do, David Cunningham says Sark's got 9 lives. I don't get it. Him and Lane Kiffin, they come from up under that coaching tree from why am I blanking on my own coach's name right now? Doggone it. Saban, geez, Louise.
Saban,
This is
yeah, Nick
AC.
Saban's, yeah, they came from Saban's coaching
Yep,
tree.
and it's still just to get as many as chances as they've got, it baffles me. All right. But to my surprise, I also saw the score of the Giants game. It is still 6-0. Giants are up with
Yep.
5 minutes left going into
and
halftime.
and the and the Giants just got a bullshit roughing the passer penalty that I'll say this: Josh Allen was thrown out of the pocket, but it also got rid of a defensive holding at the same time too.
Yep. Now,
But
staying on college football, you had
mhm.
Missouri beating up on the 24th ranked Kentucky, which they looked like they were going to be somebody, and then they weren't. All right. You had
Yep.
LSU put the spanking on Auburn, which that always makes me smile. Tennessee, got lucky against Texas A&M, which I'm looking forward to this upcoming week's game, in which I'm going up to somebody whose son is also a Tennessee Vol now. He grew up a lifelong Tennessee Vols fan, so he's hosting an event up his house, and me and my lady are going there rocking Alabama gear. I'm totally
Yep.
looking forward to that. Alabama plays Tennessee every 3rd October, and it doesn't matter what the teams are ranked. For some reason, that always tends to be a good game. But we like, if you take a look, there there were a couple of other surprises. Let's start with
Oh yeah.
Pittsburgh putting up 38-21 against Louisville. Miami,
Yep. Yeah.
they North Carolina was favored to win that game by 3, and it ended up being a 10-point game. But you got UNC looking like one of the top teams out the ACC over there.
All right. UNC at the beginning of this year was supposed to have been one of the top
Mhm.
teams. Now the whole issue that happened with Walker and his ineligibility, and then all of a sudden he's now eligible, coming right back for it. I was kind of happy that Tez Walker was able to actually come back to it, but with that team at the beginning of the season, Tez Walker was supposed to have helped them. Would have the hype for North Carolina would have been bigger if Tez Walker was declared eligible out there. We wouldn't be talking about Florida State at number 4. We might have been talking about North Carolina at number 4, because both of them have 6-0 records right now and are looking like they're going to show down for the ACC championship. That being said, I'm not surprised that Miami lost to them, but I am surprised with how close that game was. I thought North Carolina was going to win it, but obviously they needed overtime in order to get that going. Hey, great for them out there. It's going to be showing up where the ACC championship game is going to end up being North Carolina and Florida State the first weekend in December over at Charlotte.
Yep. And
I predict that one, and I will say that one because I know that because I will be at that
nice. Very
game.
nice, man. Hey,
Yeah.
if there's a way I can make it out there, let me know.
There
All
is.
right.
You just have to sign up.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know where I'm going from with
Yeah,
that
yes,
one.
sir. Bet. Bet. Um, the other game, look, I stopped keeping up with the Alabama score because at halftime it was 21-6. And then I saw the score update pop up on my phone, and it ended up being 24-21 against the lowly, now 2-5 Arkansas Razorbacks. And I'm like, what the hell happened at Alabama? Again, it was kind of like Colorado, went into halftime, came back out, and almost gave up the game.
Oh god! You know what? I really don't even give a shit about Bama's this season. Only thing I'm going to say is that I'm glad that today Bryce Young and Tua Tagovailoa actually had their little Bama Bowl for them out there.
Yeah.
So everybody who you can have the you can have the everybody watch a Sunday game and all of them say the dumbest sentence in the American language, which is "Roll
Roll
Tide."
Tide. They had embraced after the game, and I was sitting there
Yeah.
laughing because I'm all right with hugging and things like that, but they were like having a whole conversation while still embraced and hugged up, man. And just seeing that, something about that had me cracked up laughing. I was like, what could they be talking about that you have to be in the other person's ear like that and hugged for like a whole 2 minutes.
This is better than when it was with Saban, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it here. I'd rather not do that shit. I wouldn't want to be around that dumb motherfucker anymore.
Now,
Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud?
now I'm glad that Washington beat Oregon. I'm not going to talk about that. That was everything that we thought
Mm-hmm.
that it would be. The final thing to talk about to
Yes.
close out college, the way Notre Dame spanked the
Oh.
shit out of USC.
Oh,
Oh man, apparently it was Caleb's first
yeah.
3 interception game in his young NCAA
Yep.
career. I mean, they were at this dude. It seemed
Hey,
like almost every play they were in his face.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
Notre Dame
Yeah.
defense did something that not many other teams have done against USC, and they just turned it up. And I'm going to say it was their defense that caused USC to make as
Yep.
mistakes as they did. And I think teams are going to take a look at that film and take a look at that as the blueprint for how to beat USC. And you might see some of these other teams in the same conference as USC copy what Notre Dame did, because Notre Dame's
Yeah.
defense isn't special.
No, they're not.
And
No,
they made
they're
USC
not.
look foolish. I saw that stat line.
Not.
They held him to under him being Caleb Williams under 200 yards, a
Yep.
5.4
199
yard
exactly.
average.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. And 3 interceptions. Now, I am saying this because of how fickle everything is in college football. Caleb Williams now is not the front runner for the Heisman and not going to be back to back like Archie Griffin was.
Ooh.
All right. We've always been wanting to have one ever since then. This game right here, those are always those types of games where if you don't do great, you can have a bad game, but not this bad of a game and still win the Heisman. This was this bad of a game right now where you're going to have a whole bunch of other people that are coming up that are going to be playing for the rest of the year, and you're going to have one of these teams that are going to be undefeated. It ain't going to be USC anymore, but we're going to be looking at a lot of different players now, and I think the Heisman field has now just been busted wide open for somebody else to come out and get this.
Yo.
And I am not putting this on anybody. All right. But the one person who is kind of coming up there for me, all right, his team right now is 6-0. Just came off of a great win at USC. No, excuse me, not at USC. At Oregon. And his name reminds me of something like a phallus. And that's Mr. Penix over there in Washington. Just going to say, keep your eye on him.
Yeah.
If Washington is able to run the table in the Pac-12, he will have a shot at it. Now, that being said, you're also going to have some competition from, who the hell's the QB over there at freaking McCord over there at Ohio State, as well as Beck from Georgia, because Georgia's right now the number 1 team in the league, or the number 1 team in the nation. Beck is still undefeated. He hasn't been remarkable, but he hasn't had a bad game in the same way Caleb Williams has. So it's going to be interesting. Now, on top of that, too, I could also talk about Nix from Oregon. I know the dude's like, 25 years old, but we've had like Chris Wenke, who was like 28 when he won the damn Heisman. So age ain't really a factor in there. But Oregon right now at 5-1, don't know. But Nix has been putting up some great numbers right there. But yeah, you got Penix over there in Washington. He might be my dark horse for this year's Heisman Trophy.
As of right now, he's the current favorite. He is the current favorite. Caleb dropped hard Caleb was the favorite for
He did.
several weeks until this past week. I didn't see his line moving that much. Yikes.
Yeah, daggone. So Penix is now the front runner for it. I did not know
Yep.
that. I'm looking at the betting line right now. Yeah.
Yep. He is the only uh positive or favorite person that's
Yep.
in the league. The only. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't like that, I was hoping that Sanders had this magical run and he was gonna make me a lot of money, but his odds have dropped tremendously. One
Yep.
could have hoped.
Yep.
One could have hoped. David Cunningham said that Alabama's really not that good this year. They're just lucky. That's true. That's true. I think that Bama's gonna beat Tennessee. They have a chance to make it to the Iron Bowl and be undefeated, but I don't see enough from Alabama's offense to make me confident that they'd be able to do anything. And they can't make it back
But
to the college playoffs now. I can't see any scenario that if Alabama were to win out, they'd have to start dominating first, and I just don't see it
yeah,
happening. But there's no way for them, especially with the current field of teams that's playing well now, that if they stay undefeated as well, that Bama even has a chance to make it into the playoffs. So they're
you know,
just going for a good game,
beginning
and it is what it is.
beginning of this season, I said that I would see one team out of the. I said we might see one to two teams out of the SEC. I knew Georgia was going to be one of them, but then I was thinking that Bama was going to be another one. Now you've got two teams inside the Big Ten that are up there in the top four, in the top five, top six right now. Actually, three teams in the top six that are from the Big Ten. You've got Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan. Now, Ohio State, Michigan, obviously at the end of the year, they're going to end up playing. And then you're going to have next week Ohio State and Penn State. Do you think that there's going to be two teams from the Big Ten that are going to make it into the college football championship playoffs?
Possible. I can see waiting.
I think the winner.
I can see waiting.
I think it for me, and I'm just saying this. I don't know how. It's going to be kind of screwy because is Michigan playing Penn State this year?
I'd have to take a look.
I'm about to double check that right now. I don't know if Michigan's playing Penn State. Okay, yes, Michigan's playing Penn State on
November 11th.
On Veterans Day. So I'm just going to think about this in this sense, all right? Just to kind of screw up this entire thinking right here. Florida State or North Carolina run the table, win the ACC.
Okay.
All right. Washington runs the table, wins the Pac-12. Still have a chance out of there. They're still undefeated. Okay. Georgia runs the table, wins the SEC. You have Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. Let's just say that between all of them, they only win. Let's just say Penn State beats Florida State, or Penn State beats Ohio State. Ohio State beats Michigan. Michigan beats Penn State. All of them have one loss, all against each other.
That would be weird.
Oh, wait a minute. I take that back. There is a Big Ten championship game, isn't there?
Yes, and
There's now a Big Ten championship game.
And they're all
okay. So that, so that being said, that's going to be that'll be null and void because whoever wins that Big Ten, that's out there. All right. So then it comes down to this: do you think that either one of those teams, a one-loss team or possibly a two-loss Big Ten team, will qualify before an undefeated Pac-12 team?
No.
All right.
All right. We do have something here. Coach found something that I thought was real interesting, and with the way that our station is, we should definitely show this. And
oh, what did I find?
a
Oh dear God, I don't even
military
remember.
veteran
Let's see it.
who is currently the oldest active kicker
Oh
in
yes.
Division 1. It's a US veteran of the Marines by the name of Matt Ganyard, 34 years old, father of 2, currently enrolled at UVA. He is a kicker who's not just a
Mhm.
kicker and not playing, but he's actually getting out there, and we have some of his footage. And here at WTF Nation Radio, we definitely want to salute our veterans. So let's show Matt Ganyard, Marine, as the active current college football player. Let's take a look.
The oldest current Division I football player, 34-year-old Virginia kicker, Matt Ganyard. As an undergrad at UVA, tried out for the team twice, both times being cut before graduating in 2011. Ganyard then served our nation as a Marine, flying Cobra attack helicopters for a decade. He then decided to return to Charlottesville as a graduate student in the business school on the GI Bill, all while being married with 2 children. And it was always in the back of his mind to make another run at kicking. And the dream, gentlemen, was still alive. And that dream became a reality when he was granted a waiver prior to this season to play. He told me, it's all too fitting putting on this UVA jersey, the team he always rooted for, to have his wife, Marie, who he met at UVA by his side, his 3-year-old daughter, Savannah, and 10-month-old son, Noah. Special, special.
Now, that kid is technically old enough to be one of the freshmen's dad out there. He's probably older than his coaches. But I thought that that was really cool to get the opportunity to do that. And it kind of came full circle because he tried out prior to joining the Marines. Didn't make it. Served as a Marine helicopter pilot. Got out, married, 2 kids, was able to apply for a waiver and got it to be able to play in Division 1 NCAA. And I just think that that's fantastic. And you can do
Hey,
that as a kicker. You can't do that as running back, wide receiver, lineman. That's just not
well, you had that Villanueva guy that was on Pittsburgh that was an Army Ranger.
what position did
You
he
know
play?
that might have been he was an
The
offensive lineman.
lineman, that's right. Yes, yes.
Yeah, but to him, I definitely got to do something to Matt Ganyard. This one's for you, buddy. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. And he said, David Cunningham said,
And by the way, grow a fucking beard from every single veteran that's out here. Get rid of the fucking high and tight. I don't give a shit if you were an officer. Get rid of the high and tight. Grow a fucking beard. Come on, man. You're one of us.
the last thing that we are going to cover today, only because I think that it's relevant, but we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because I got to go to bed, is Logan Paul. Is Logan Paul good for the sport of boxing or bad? Coach, what say you?
Let's just say that Logan Paul is bringing more eyes to boxing than any of the boxers are at any of the big fights since Manny Pacquiao started going downhill. Freaking Money Mayweather ain't bringing in the money anymore, and he's long been retired now. I think his last fight was about 5 years ago. Pacquiao was bringing in the money, and everything else has been going downhill. The Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, isn't bringing anything. Deontay Wilder's not bringing in anything. And the only times that anybody has been talking about the world of boxing has been with the Pauls, with these little mix matches between MMA fighters and boxers, as well as, exhibition matches like Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. You're not seeing anybody talking about boxing anymore outside of what the YouTube stars are doing in their fights. So if they're keeping it relevant, and I hope they're keeping it relevant until the next great boxing superstar or the next great wave of boxers starts coming in, I'm glad that they're doing this. So I would say that they're doing good things for the world of boxing because it's keeping it relevant.
Did you see what happened after the fight between Logan Paul and Dylan of
Y-
MMA?
Yes, I did, and I saw the disqualification, and then then I saw the aftermath, and yeah,
Let's take a look.
yeah. Let's take a look.
Hit him while he's down. And here it's broken out to a brawl. Security storm the ring. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's Andrew Galata and Ring Bone all over again. There's Jake Paul in the midst of it.
This could get really ugly, guys. There's a lot of bad blood there. As you said, Jake Paul, bottles are being thrown.
Meanwhile, that's the end of the fight. An embarrassment for Dillian Dennis. And an easy win for Logan Paul, but not without some late drama.
He threw more punches at the security guards than he did in this fight.
Oh yeah.
David Cunningham said, I think the Paul brothers are good for boxing. I just tune in to see him get beat down, but it hasn't happened yet. Look, Logan Paul and Jake Paul, two YouTubers that have taken the sport of boxing. And I said that and my eyes fluttered. They've taken boxing by storm. They are drawing people to pay to watch sports, check out some of the undercard fighters and things like that. So are they good for the sport? Depends on how you look at it. My answer is yes. But it's I don't know, like I watched the what was that movie? Big George Foreman. And I was like,
Yep.
that's when I think of boxing, I think of how things were marketed back then versus how it is now. Now it's a whole lot more entertaining and just like that, like the boxing science doesn't seem like it's the same anymore. And hey, maybe that's good for the sport. Maybe it needs to be more entertaining than watching some of your real skilled fighters go in there and box. Um Dylan Dennis didn't
Uh,
seem like while he's a good fighter, I certainly wouldn't want to,
mhm.
go into a mixed martial arts match with him. Watching him box, he looked sloppy. He looked sloppy.
Yeah, yeah, he did. He did. And on top of that, too, he looked completely out of discipline. The Paul brothers have been, they've been boxing. And yes, you could say pugilism is, a sport that's dead and it's now become nothing but promotion and trying to get those many eyes on there. But at least the Paul brothers are taking the boxing portion of this
Mhm,
seriously. Plenty of these MMA fighters, they are multidisciplined or they have a single discipline that isn't around boxing. It might be kickboxing, it might be striking, it might be Brazilian jiu-jitsu, certain martial arts, but none of them have been disciplined in the sport of actual boxing. Okay, and doing it that way. Yeah, there is a difference in the combat sports. You can't just be great at one and then automatically translate it into another. So seeing Dylan not being able to throw punches and, kind of whiffing and wailing and reacting the way that he did when Logan did, punch him before, while he was on the ground and doing that kind of reaction did kind of make me think that he was completely out of his element and only took that payday and that fight as a promotion and as a type of as a payday for him. That's about the best thing I could say about that. But the Paul brothers are still at the point right now where they are forced to be reckoned with. Now, are they going to go against a bunch of people who have been boxing all their life? No, they're not. Okay. And if you did put that together, it's going to look like Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks. A minute and 27 seconds is all you're going to end up getting after that. It's not going to be that daggone way. It's not going to be a good fight. But nobody's going to be there to actually see two great pugilists going on for it. The way the boxing is, it's an absolute promotion right now, and it's about the payday and the matchups, not about the sweet science of pugilism. that it once was.
Yep. I also didn't see it until just before this show that at the press conference on Friday, Dylan threw a microphone that hit
Yes,
Paul
he
in
did.
it hit Paul in the eye, and it didn't just, like, hit him, and it's like, "Oh," like, no, he hit him and left a little mark on him, and there could have been a lot
Yep.
of different things that went different, but, what Logan Paul did, I thought, yeah, like David Cunningham said, people, I think, now are watching just to see if he actually gets taken down, because that's where I'm
Yeah,
at this point.
yeah.
Um
And and I'm going to say this about the combat sports that it comes and we're in a lull right now when it comes down to combat sports. The last times that I remember ever watching a heavyweight fight was back when Tyson and Lennox Lewis, back in the early era, the mid aughts, were fighting each other. Last time I was ever really into somewhat watching boxing at the lower weight classes was when Manny Pacquiao was at his prime and he was going up against Mayweather. Even Mayweather I found boring because all he did was, dodge and hold and throw a couple jabs, and the fight would go the distance and he would win on the decision. There hasn't been any action in boxing for a while. When you look at MMA, outside of Conor McGregor, outside of, and I'm going to go way back, and I think Amanda Nunes is the greatest women's MMA fighter in history, but she sure as hell was not. Oh God, what the hell was her name? The one who's now in World Wrestling Federation. The one who was in the Expendables. You know who I'm talking
Oh,
about, right?
man, I'm looking at her face right now.
I'm looking at her face, but her name's like escaping me right now. Why the hell is her Ronda
Thank you,
Rousey?
thank you. That was gonna bug me. I'm like, I should know this. It's one of my favorite movies.
Fuck out of me too. But she sure as hell is no Ronda Rousey. MMA is now at the part right now where they're now nothing but promotions. Nobody's really worried, nobody's really caring about, the people like we did with George St. Pierre. Nobody's caring about the people like Sugar Shane Evans and Rashard Lewis and no, not Rashard Lewis. God, I can't remember the
Lennox
guy's
Lewis.
name, but no, not Lennox. No, I'm talking about the MMA fight. MMA fight. Rashard Evans. The back when when the freaking light heavyweight division, before John Bones Jones, when the light heavyweight division was stacked, people were watching it back and forth. But now you're only looking at it for the matchups. It's been so saturated with UFC Plus and UFC Fight Nights and UFC 549 that nobody knows about anybody anymore. And combat sports, as we know it in America, has lost its popularity. So, if these fights are keeping these things relevant, these Jake Paul and Logan Paul matches are keeping boxing relevant. And if they ever try themselves over in an MMA cage, keeping those relevant, I have no problem as long as they keep it relevant. But both of these sports, they need to get back to the actual sport itself and need those types of transcendent athletes that are bringing people in to elevate the lower divisions that are out there, if you know what I'm
Yep,
saying.
yep.
Yep.
Now, we're gonna close the show. So before we do, we have to wait on David Cunningham to give us our close off. I do want to highlight that we are at halftime, and CQ just sent me a text message and was like, "What the fuck is happening right now?" He's like, he said, "I know something's gonna happen at halftime, and the Giants are gonna find a way to blow this." But as of right now, halftime 6-0, the New York Giants are up over the
It could
Buffalo
have been
Bills.
13-0, but they got a goal line stand with about, they ran the ball with 6 seconds left, and the clock ran out before they could spike it for another score. So it could have been 13-0 or even 9-0. But yeah,
Man.
Giants up 6-0. What in the fuck? The Jets win. The Giants might win. What kind of fucking world am I living into? And you know what? For crying out loud, we haven't even talked about one person at all today.
Who'd we miss?
You know who we haven't talked about?
Who'd we miss?
Taylor Swift.
Hey, you broke it. You broke it.
We went the entire show without having to bring her up.
You broke it. I almost did just to piss you off. I actually have it on my notes right over here on this monitor. I said if I don't bring it up at the beginning, I wasn't going to bring it up at all. I wrote that out. If I don't bring it up at the beginning, I won't bring it up at all.
Taylor Swift's ass is so flat. Kyrie Irving thinks that it's Earth.
Hey, Queen Flatback Supreme herself has entered the chat. Oh man. Hey, coach, that was awesome. And we do have our sign off from David Cunningham. So let's put this up on the screen. Said great topics today, King and Coach. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, get out there and spread your awesomeness. Hey, David, to you as well, because I know your time's coming up. Are we gonna have a show before you said you were done? We are. So Coach and I are going to be back next Sunday.
Yep, next Sunday, and then the following Sunday on the 29th. I'm not sure if I'll be here because I'll be traveling back from Jersey.
All right, dirty Jersey.
Yeah.
All right, but we do have our sign off to everybody that stayed and watched the entire show. I love y'all. That's awesome. Okay, if you popped in and popped out, I still love you. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't, and we are out. Peace.